Good morning to all our viewers. Welcome back after a long and very long time. Myself, Shivang Sharma, welcomes you to another episode of IT Talk, episode number 25, 24. Sorry, not 25, 24. So today with us, we have Lieutenant Arjun Chaudhary sir with us. And to give us brief introduction on what topic he's gonna say, I'll let you know that. So the topic on which today we are going to have a discussion is role and importance of ISO 27001 ISMS auditing in industry. This is one of the most common thing which has to be done amongst the industry, and most of the industries need to get it done to get themselves safeguarded from cyber security. So before moving ahead with today's discussion and understanding what basically ISO 27001 is and rest all the discussion, let me first introduce you to our honorable guest for today. Lieutenant Arjun Chaudhary sir is Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Cyber Security in Sardar Patel University of Police, Security and Criminal Justice (SPUP) at Jodhpur. He is also currently Deputy Director of Center for Cyber Security at SPUP Jodhpur. His areas of research are information security and privacy, cybersecurity policy implementation, cloud computing and security, ISMS auditing and implementation of ISO 27001 standard. He is visiting faculty at Northeast Police Academy, Shillong, Border Security Force, Jodhpur, Intelligence Bureau, Rajasthan Police Academy, Jaipur, Rajasthan Police Training Center, Jodhpur, Rajasthan Police Training School, Jodhpur, Export Promotion Council of Handicraft, India, and Regional IGNU Center. His work also has presence in e-governance and cyber forensic. Recently, two papers related to these areas were published in renowned journals. He also has been called in various public speaking about the cyber development and its hazards to imbibe and understand its fully in our daily life. Currently, he's pursuing in PhD in cloud computing and cybercrime area. So, very first of all, so I would like to tell you that we are very much blessed that we have you with us today on our board, and I would like to give you a very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Shivang. And it's an honor to be invited and to be discussed on these relevant topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, as our topic majorly mentions about the ISO 27001 ISMS auditing, as a topic itself it's a very large it's a very very big topic. So, I would first of all request you to tell us what basically does this ISO means. What is this ISO 27001 and everything?
See, first of all, we need to understand in a very layman manner itself. Like we usually like buy sort of things like your table stove or the kitchen stove or so something. So everything comes with a particular standards like BSI standards or ISI standards. So these standards plays a very important role in our life. That yes, these all instruments have been tried and tested in a certain and
Um, Excuse me, sir. I couldn't hear you properly. There was a bit of a disturbance.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll repeat it again. Like when we say in a layman manner, like we buy usually like a lot of things, like even the gold or the kitchen stove, they have certain standards tried and tested in certain labs, and certain compliances are being followed. So similarly, when we are talking about the information security or the information which is being kept with an organization itself, so we need to test it out. We need to be sure enough that yes, our information is kept securely and need not to be modified by some unauthorized persons itself. So there needs to be certain process and standards or procedures to be followed itself. So for that, actually, like International Organization for Standards has come up with the standards itself. There are variety of standards. Like we usually read about 9001 standard itself. So similarly, for information security and the domain itself, that is ISMS, which is an acronym for Information Security Management Systems itself. So for that, actually, there is a particular standard which is accepted worldwide. This is not accepted only in India or some certain part of the world, but yes, this is accepted across the world itself. And this standard is like 27001. There are variety of families like 27,000, 27,002, 27,010, 27,017. So, but yes, usually like for an organization to get it certified, they need to certify it under the ISO standard 27,001 itself. So this is basically a particular set of procedures which are generic in nature. Generic means like it can be not only applied on a certain specific sector of an industry. Yes, it can be specified or tested on every part of industry. So these standards plays a vital role to get it checked and verified and then certified so that the company or the particular organization can proudly say that yes, we are certified and we are following these procedures and standards. So this is basically ISO all about. And we are talking about 27,001 ISMS, although the name is quite a large one, but yes, it is the need of our right now.
Sure. As you mentioned, sir, about ISMS. So majorly, I would like to know what was the major purpose of introduction of ISMS. Like चीजें तो उसके पहले भी चल रही थी. What was the major reason for introducing this ISO and ISMS? What was the major purpose for all this?
See, starting from 2000 era itself, like the 21st century, we can see that there is a boom of the data itself. Like if you can see, and there is a huge like debate ongoing right now. Like the data which has been generated in the past 10 years is around like 95% of the whole data, starting from the human civilization itself. So you can see that there is a boom of the data itself, right? And then eventually, like if the data will compare with the gold today, it's a new information, it's a new currency itself. Because what happens if I happens to know that what is your passwords of your Gmail account, your financial services account, I can make your life upside down itself, right? I can make you like a celebrity. I can make you a criminal. I can make you anything, like because I do have every information pertaining to your life itself. Just say an example, like in the case of Cambridge Analytica itself, like they had a huge amount of data, vast amount of the data for US citizens itself, and eventually, like they, not exactly they claim, but yes, there are some sources which were claiming that yes, with the help of the data, they can psychologically change the perception of the person towards a particular party itself. Okay, so eventually, like data plays a very vital role because there are some certain sort of information which is you are not aware about you itself. I'll just quote an example. Like probably like one fine day, I was in the class and I received a call itself, stating that we need to discuss about certain things. So I dropped the call and mentioned that probably after the class we can have a discussion. So during that particular classroom session itself, I received a particular mail from a certain service mentioning that yes, like you are traveling to that particular place, like place X itself. So we are happy to give you some discount for the same itself, right? So just imagine the level of the breach of privacy which we are currently facing. And then eventually, like after completion of the class, when I discussed with the same person who called me during the class, I came to know that yes, actually, I was supposed to be going to that place X regarding some meeting itself. But yes, the companies were aware without being informing to me itself. So that's the case right now. We are happening. And when we are talking about the companies, with the organizations who are dealing with the information or the data itself, there are not only the organizations only in the IT sector itself. There are organizations which are keeping your data even though they are not in the IT firms. Like the very recent case was of Domino's Pizza itself, right? Domino's Pizza has been hacked, and eventually their particular whole database was exposed. So there are repercussions, but usually like we never think of the repercussions itself. Like probably like I'm a psychic person and I'm just trying to get hold of my ex-girlfriend address itself, and then eventually like with the help of the phone number, now I can just identify where she is living right now, where she is working right now. So eventually that is kind of a breach of privacy itself, right? So to just stop these kind of issues and making embarrassment or lowering down the image of an organization, these are must actually. And we are talking in the month when recently the Parliament has begun discussing about the Personal Data Protection Bill, which has been introduced to the Parliament for the last 2 years down the line, and a variety of people have been discussing. Variety of industry has been called for discussions during the deliberations being ongoing. So eventually, the coming days would be quite, exciting as well as very challenging for the companies as well as for the implementers part. And this is the area which is a hot topic of this hour right now. So I hope basically the need of ISO I have introduced you. The examples also because
Yeah.
eventually without examples we don't understand the thing at all.
Definitely, definitely. It helps us to understand understand things better way, because at some point or the other we have also done that particular kind of a thing, or it has happened with us. So we tend to relate those things pretty easily. So as this is one thing mentioned, that ISMS auditing is one thing which is being mentioned over there. So, how much is it important for organizations to do this ISMS auditing? And why it is important? Like, why? So you told me because it's like it's of a breaching of a privacy, and lot of data is being used. So that's the reason. But how much important is it for an organization, for a well-established organization, and also for the organization which are just starting right now?
Yeah, we need to understand first of all because when you're talking about some standards, this gives you a discipline era or a kind of a processes itself. When we are talking like probably you don't have certain processes or documented evidence for a certain process sector. Like say for an example, like you are an organization who are actually dealing in a lot of IT equipment because it stays so because of your business or your requirements of the objectives of the business sector. So probably you have been doing those things unknowingly or knowingly, but yes, you aren't aware right now that how to proceed in a documented manner. And eventually this gives you a confidence level also, like whenever you are being asked or eventually like there has been some incident, so you are confident enough that yes, my process was foolproof and there was no margin of error ongoing into that because the process has been evaluated, well drawn, and it was well planned and executed in a very efficient manner itself. And eventually the process was risk assessed also because probably like in certain processes there would be some risk attached with it also because when we are talking probably I'm an organization which is dealing with a particular data which needs to be sent to certain third party itself, yes? And then if I'm not cleaning my data, if I'm not sterilizing my data or anonymizing my data as per the requirements of the contract being mentioned between the first party and the another third party itself, it gives you a less confidence when you're not following some certain procedures itself. So, these procedures are being followed only when you are trying to follow ISO standards itself, like that is 27001 itself. So, eventually, ISO being implemented in an organization would require some implementers also. These implementers will eventually tell the particular person who are in a department or so to just to ensure that yes, these are the ISO standards, these are the processes you are already following. But now we need to map it, or you can say we need to make it in coherence with the ISO 27000 standards. So eventually, you are all are sensitized. You are all aware. Now you feeling confident, and eventually, like anything, now it pertains like any data leakage or any hacking or any certain incident which actually expose your data. So eventually, you can have an audit trail also. Audit trail means like there is a you can retrace the path. Eventually, you can retrace the process because it has been written so. So that would make your life easier. Because there is a myth which is known as 100% security. Right? Even like the big firms or big four or anyone, no one can claim that yes, we can provide you 100% security. But yes, we can
Right.
approach that particular part. This is a particular thing which is in hypothetically optimal. So with the help of
Hmm.
these particular standards, we can reach and we can try to get that particular 100% standard itself. So that is quite important till the date.
Exactly. So, is it like it has been done? Is it like it has been done mandatory by government to do these all these auditings, or it's just that from company's point of view that you have, or an organization's point of view that you have to get these auditings done, or is it done mandatory from the government's point?
Uh, Not currently, these are not the mandatory one. But yes, when we are talking about a particular business like point of view itself for an organization, this gives you a momentum itself. Like, yes, we need not to check it out again that organization is quite worthy of my business or dealing with my business itself. So, but yes, definitely there is a point in the time, in the current future itself, when we are going to have this mandatorily for certain sectors itself. And I do hope that needs to be done because eventually, like, probably like there are n number of organizations and the companies which are dealing in the IT or the information domain itself, and they are handling our data in a very irresponsible manner itself. And eventually, like, you know, the the case with the GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation, which was enforced in the European Union itself, and that gives you a perfect scene and the scenario where that any organization which is like working somehow related with the European Union citizen itself, they need to ensure that the data which has been kept by the organization while just dealing with that person itself, you need to take the permission initially from that particular person so that eventually like your privacy should be respected itself. Right now if you'll see that privacy is a joke, it's a no time like I can just identify your location. Eventually like there are not n number of OSN sites, like OSN means open source intelligence, through which you need not to pay for certain agency. Eventually like with the help of certain amount of your information, I can trace it out where you are located right now, what you have been doing, what's your
Hmm.
business, what's
Hmm.
your profession itself. You know, if you don't want to disclose it to the audience or some the person who are after you itself, that it should be respected in a certain level itself. Right now, these are the only VIPs and like some persons like POTUS, President of the United States, or some persons which are being done in a very secure manner. But yes, just give an example. Like there is a particular app. I'm not naming the app. Like it will just take all the data from your contact list and eventually will upload into their servers itself. And eventually, me who doesn't want to be showing my data to that organization, eventually my data is being shared with because you have installed that app itself. So eventually the privacy is actually like right now. And eventually when we are saying, I would say that the ISO 27001 should be mandatory in certain sectors because eventually we need to be quite mature. At the current state, we are saying that we are in a very immature situation. But yes, probably in the coming days it would be there, and we are very hopeful.
Definitely income. Yeah, hopefully it would be implemented in coming days. Also, as you mentioned, that privacy is something which is not, which is entirely into a shell right now. Like you can get my location and everything. And also, there is a line said that privacy is a myth at the end of the day because everyone knows what you are doing. It's all on you how much you can secure yourself. So moving ahead with the with the topics, I would like to ask that what are the important aspects of auditing? Like what are the different aspects in this ISMS auditing?
See, when we are talking about an auditing, first of all, there is a another standard for the auditing itself. Auditing means this is not related with a certain part of the auditing, like finance auditing is there. We are aware that the CAs are actually involved into the financial auditing. And then there is an inventory auditing, there is an information security auditing. So there are n number of types of auditing. So first of all, we need to understand there is an auditing. What do you mean by an auditing itself? The auditing comprises of auditing plan, auditing criteria, auditing procedure, auditing process itself. So these all things in a certain standardized manner has been specified into ISO 19011 itself. That is 19011, which is again another standard, which in very generic manner specifies that how to do the auditing itself. Like this can be applicable for n number of auditings, n number of types of auditing itself. So these actually paves a path how to proceed with the same. Eventually, like when we are talking about the auditing, in the ISMS, that is like what we are discussing right now, we need to understand certain aspects of the information, how it is being kept. Because eventually, I'm an auditor and I'm unaware about the ways the information is being handled. Like the current newly deployed parts are like NAS, that is Network Area Storage, or Storage Area Networks, NAS or SAN itself. And then nowadays we are talking about the fog computing or the edge computing itself, which are the like again the newly cutting edge technology, where actually we are not storing our data into the servers. Probably we are processing data in the middle land itself, like probably with the help of your smartwatch, probably with the help of your smart gate or fridge itself, or your smart TV itself. When we are speaking as of now, probably like there is a TV residing in another room itself, and probably like my voice is being heard from the TV, and it is being stored into that, and somehow the another person, another party may be involved in getting my data eventually. So auditing does include to know about that particular sector itself, first of all, so that whenever we are going to do the auditing, we should be curious enough. We should be eventually informative enough that yes, these are the cases also which needs to be checked upon. So these are again very important aspects which needs to be followed. And auditing gives you an exposure that yes, probably in the past are not being followed, but now with the help of auditing, because auditing is not of a single type itself in the ISMS itself. There is a first party audit, there is a second party audit, then there is a third party audit. First party means like when we are talking about an organization, they can have in-house auditing, which is known as internal auditing itself. So initially, when we are going for the certification, probably we need to check ourselves that whether we are worthy of it or not, or whether we have implemented in a very correct or fashion manner itself. So that will gives you a particular idea. So that is the first instance of the audit, that is internal auditing itself. Second one is for the certification itself. Probably now you have got the results, you have got the findings, you have checked out whether there is non-conformities in your findings in the end report of the internal auditing itself. And the third part is something like probably we are going to do a business, like probably Shivang and Arjun has been indulged in two different parties, and we want to work all together. But yes, probably like you're not satisfied with my certification also. So we both can come to a conclusion that probably there is a third party which can do my auditing, do my premises auditing or my information security management systems auditing, and eventually like we'll be more happy while working in that scenario itself. So these are the aspects which we need to look out when we are talking about the auditing.
So, as you mentioned about different types of auditing, so like out of curiosity, so I would like to know what are the different types of auditing that happens around.
Like I just mentioned, like initially, like the internal auditing is there, in which eventually, like the in-house members being randomizedly selected, because eventually, like we are not going to have a particular person with a prejudiced manner itself. Like probably, like uh, in the first instance of the internal auditing, we had certain teams. Probably in the second time, we'll have certain members which are already in the team, but yes, not all, because eventually like we'll have a prejudiced manner that yes, probably because there is a certain instance when we may overlook towards a particular certain instances or so, because we understand that we have checked those particular parts. So there is a the need of randomization into the internal auditing teams itself, and which are actually the which paves the path of the foundation of the internal ISMS auditing itself. And eventually, like there is a particular auditing. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, yeah. So as you mentioned that these are different types of auditing. Also, you mentioned that there are different types of data. So as you said that there's edge computing, and then the data is being stored. So rather than you doing auditing, how much informative you have to be regarding the things like how many types of different things are there, what is trending right now? Because uh, computers and science is something which evolves every day. Today there is something, tomorrow there will be something new. Yesterday was something which is not even being used. So immediately I would like to know, how do you keep yourself updated with with these new things, like what's coming now, what has happened, how these things are because every technology or every attack, if you say every attack which is being made, it is being developed from the previous one. The loophole of the previous one is what gives birth to next attack. So how do you keep yourself updated? And also most of the times you might have also achieved a counter attack, like you have seen a loophole, you know that this might be used future for future purpose, and you have already developed a counter attack for that. So how have you handled those situations, and what do you do to keep yourself updated with those things?
Must say this is a new and a very important question which is being asked here, because eventually, like most of the time when we are talking about these things, we usually keep away from these questions, because probably might have said something because of my nature and my expertise itself, and then eventually like we are left with again things that how to proceed with the same itself. So that is like again a very important thing. Uh, to tell you frankly, like the first and foremost thing what actually I do is like to read a lot. Like whenever we are trying to read anything at all, we need to keep a perspective that yes, how it will affect, in the information security domain itself. Like usually, like we don't have a context to make it out, because probably there are a lot of information which is coming into the newspapers also, daily newspaper. I'm not saying about the national daily, probably local daily newspapers. We might have read about certain crime, like किसी के account से पैसे निकल गए, the account has been mishandled, or there is been forgery into the accounts of a particular organization or so. So you know usually like we give a blind eye or turns our like our head towards some other interesting news eventually. So first of all, we need to have a mindset ready that yes, whenever there is a news, whenever there is an item, we need to be ready to be finding that yes, there are certain newses which are related to these particular things. So, like as you mentioned, this is a domain which is changing drastically. Like in the next month, probably we'll have something new to the things itself. So usually, like there are variety of newsletters which could come handy, and we can subscribe to those newsletters. Like eventually, like in the case of financial information pertaining to the financial domain of Indian context itself, usually like you can follow like standards or the newsletters being provided by RBIT, which is a IT firm of the RBI itself. So that the newsletter
Hmm.
name is Pulse itself. So it gives you like first-hand information in a very articulated manner, and eventually it will provide you the information pertaining to the Indian context itself. Otherwise, what happens usually, like probably like I would have subscribed to the newsletter which is of an international nature, and we are still like far away from that particular part. But yes, definitely we can follow that thing also, because probably in a coming few days it would be coming down to us also. So we need to keep a level of understanding itself. Yeah, we can have a national level, we can have an international level newsletters or the groups itself. There are special interest groups, SIG, which are known as SIGs in a popular manner. And you if you'll find on internet, you will find n number of SIGs. Eventually, the social media platforms, they do have a good source of information. Not all, but yes, you need to check it, verify it, because there is a huge instances of fake news all the time. है ना? Because
Mhm.
like
Yes, yes.
probably like uh, people claimed in 2012 that probably the earth is going to end. So these kind of fake news are also there. So eventually we need to be checking and verifying them. And even the Twitter, Facebook, Insta, everyone is having their special interest groups itself. And following some list would help you out. Following some regular, tech news would come really handy. But usually like the magazines doesn't plays a very vital role. So eventually like certain also, which is again an important aspects of information security domain designated by the government of India, they gives you a lot of advisory. Actually, you can follow the websites of those particular things. Eventually like there are some consultancy websites which would provide you certain aspects of what is happening right now in the computing era itself. You can have the subscription of
Hmm.
certain scholarly platforms which will provide you in a researchical manner, like what is ongoing and probably which is in coming into the market in the next 1 or 2 years down the line. Like like right now we are talking about the fog computing, and then it is not in the product manner into the layman person right now. But yes, this is there, like
Mm-hmm.
software defined networks or network function virtualization. These are a future technology. AR or
Mm-hmm.
VR are already in the picture right now, but probably these technologies would
Yes.
be coming in the 1 year or 2 years itself. So if you read those scholarly articles, you'll be aware that how to work on those areas. Like, I'll give you an instance right now. Uh, you all would have been using WhatsApp, right?
Yes.
Yes. And usually, like,
Yes.
there is a particular new beta version of the WhatsApp is there. है ना? So,
Mm.
what is the working, how it is working? That's again in need of our right now. So, mind needs to be inquisitive enough that yes, how, like yesterday only I deleted a particular chat, say for an example. Now there is a new message
Mm.
flashing that this message which you are deleting would be deleted from this device only. What does it mean? So there is an
So,
inquisitiveness coming to your question, that the
mm.
instance itself.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Based on that, we will have an instance like if earlier WhatsApp was saying that yes, I don't download everything on my servers. So what does it mean now? That means there is a particular space or storage in somewhere else, probably not in the server, but somewhere else. So the question
Somewhere
arises
else. Yeah.
in certain sense when we have that particular context in our mind in a subconscious way. So that will help you a lot. And eventually, like, you can create your own groups. Usually, like in my classrooms and my another batches who have been passed out, I usually enforce one thing that yes, make a point also that you need to share something interesting from your perspective and describe it in your own understanding. So that way, yeah, probably you are reading a single news, but probably if the classroom is of 24 guys or the ladies, eventually you'll have 24 news into 24 hours itself, and you have worked for only 1 hour itself,
Exactly.
right? So eventually that helps you a lot
Mm-hmm.
understanding the matters itself. I hope this will help out for the listeners.
Definitely, sir. So as you previously mentioned that most of the times you also yourself do auditing and you have to deal with many of those things. So I would request you to share some of your real life examples, like some of the examples wherein you had faced a pretty much difficulty in auditing, like there was a lot of difficulties and obstacles, and you overcome those. And how did you manage to do that?
See, in auditing also, we usually are being taught while going for the lessons of how to do the auditing itself, like how to effectively communicate with the auditees itself. Auditees means who are being audited right now, and eventually that punctuality, discipline plays a very vital role because eventually this is the first impression you are giving to the auditees itself that yes, we are the auditors and how we are going to interact with you, how we are going to work with you itself, and but there are difficult situations because in the Indian scenario itself, the people are very less aware right now. Very recently, one of my student who has just opened a particular firm in this particular sector, and eventually he was discussing with me like how to proceed with the same because we had some certain experience with the auditing itself. So first thing was like you need to be humble, punctual, and disciplined because eventually that gives you away your information that yes, whether you are professional enough to handle this much amount of data because somehow the organization is giving away the very important aspect of their working itself. Like probably your the whole balance sheets, the processes, the company secrets are with you right now. So, like in certain scenario, I will tell you like probably like we were doing the auditing of an organization, and eventually in the opening meeting itself, when we were going to meet a particular the top management itself, they were not ready to indulge the information because they were like having a doubt that probably we are carrying away the information with us itself because usually it happens like because they are not having any access control mechanisms or so, and eventually like they need to be providing to us like to access not directly but probably there would be a guide or there would be an observers from both the parties itself which would be looking out towards like what we are doing right now, because eventually now auditors cannot be let free that yes, give me the key and I'll just check the things itself, because that is quite unprofessional to do so itself, right? So eventually, like a lot of cases have been done in which they are not ready to indulge in the processes itself. But yes, mostly like it is you who should take the honors to tell them, to make them understand that how to proceed with the same. Eventually, there are certain instances where usually like what I tell my students and my colleagues as well, like whenever we are going for the auditing, we need not to be strict enough to identify whether there is a documented evidence or not itself. Like to get an evidence that yes, they are following the processes, that there are variety of things which we can do. If there is not a documented evidence, definitely we can interview them that yes, are you following this process or not? Yes, probably they are following the process because it has been worked in such manner itself. Probably like we can try to question them like how you're going to follow this process itself, or probably you just see the process itself by your by moving into that particular environment itself. And then sometimes like I've heard from my colleagues as well who have been indulged in the auditing in some other parts of the country or the world itself. Like probably you are going through the UAE itself or some Muslim countries, and then probably the particular time period when you move to the particular country is the Ramadan period itself. And then in front of all the auditees, you are just trying to have some lavish lunch or breakfast also. That gives you a particular very less sense of professionalism, because they are having some fasting culture right now, and we are just doing the
Mm.
lunch and breakfast. Usually, it gives you a bad impression in front of them themselves. So the culture, the environment
Mhm.
should be understood, well understood in the first instance itself, so that you need not to break those instances. Usually, like when you are going to the auditing, you probably may stop the process also. This may disrupt the supply chain management itself. So eventually, you need to keep evaluating those risks associated with while doing the auditing also. I've seen in the instances like probably like there is a particular food industry, FMCG industry itself, and then you are trying to do the auditing, and somehow you move to the conveyor belt itself, and said that yes, you stop the conveyor belt. I want to check it out. So I don't think so. This is a wise idea to move on to that step itself. So these kind of things are already there, and eventually, like in certain instances, like I was called on a certain lecture related to this particular data information security auditing itself in a certain firm, and the firm was actually dealing with certain information pertaining to the European Union itself, and eventually there were some employees who actually left the organization and somehow get away with the data which was actually stored in the devices, and they were selling the data and to the another organization which is the counterpart of this organization, and somehow monetarily benefiting the another organization and giving the loss to the previous organization itself. And
Previous one. Mm.
they were friends of that organization, like because probably we both are friends. I've left your organization now, and I'm discussing you in a very informal manner. Yeah, like probably, हाँ यार किसका order आया? Oh, what was the order all about? कितना आया? Usually, like with the help of social engineering attacks itself, I'll get away with the information, and eventually, this way, the information was being leaked to the another organization itself. So, with the help of this particular part, the lecture, while just explaining the legal compliances of like what you are doing, probably it may lead to you into jail itself, or probably the fine or like debarment from the industry itself. So that was quite interesting. Like while informing them, while telling them that how to proceed and what are the repercussions eventually. So based on that, like the data leakage which was ongoing was stopped actually. So, these kind of cases are already there. A lot of cases are there in these scenarios itself. Like if you will try to quote certain issues, definitely we can have some cases related to those organizations itself.
Surely, surely, sir. It also becomes difficult for you to like answer or bring up a case randomly in between because you don't know whether it will be context related or not.
Right, right.
Before moving ahead with the topic, I have a question from Shubhi ma'am saying, please discuss with your real-time experience of cyber attack and how you dealt with that situation.
Yeah, yeah. It's a need of hour again. Thank you, Subhi ma'am, to ask this question itself. You know, today itself, when we are discussing, probably like n number of organizations are being targeted with the help of ransomware, which is again a very sophisticated attack. Okay, and ransomware is something like kind of a evolved version of upfront. You know, the extortion we usually do, है ना, जो हमने देखा है, हमने movies में देखा है. So, you know, while
Hmm.
just trying to like exploit a vulnerability in a system, usually like attackers are trying to get hold of your information, and eventually they are not getting away with the information. Eventually they are just encrypting away the information in your servers and keeping the key with themselves, and eventually you need to pay that thing itself. And you know, probably this is a talk of town right now because you know, which is coming in the newspapers on a regular basis. But let me tell you, it has started way back in 2015 itself when New York police database was hacked. And in the same year, New Delhi police stations were hacked, with the same techniques itself. And even the researchers, I must tell you, the researchers was not unaffected. They were also affected. Like I know an instance in which there was one researcher who was working and doing their PhD from Punjab University, and eventually the whole laptop was encrypted and being asked like, you need to pay that much amount of money in the cryptocurrency itself. And you know, we are talking cryptocurrency. That means like this is a currency which is untraceable itself. And you know, they have been working in the barter system, and where you cannot take hold of that where the currency has originated and where the currency has been terminated itself. So, you know, these kind of crimes are taking place on a regular basis, and there are certain different times like banking frauds have been taking places. Recent examples like yesterday only, I received a call where the person was being duped with a certain money because he or she received a particular SMS stating that your SIM would be blocked because you haven't done the eKYC. So if you're ready, I can do the eKYC right away with you. So you just need to download a certain app, like probably like remote apps are there, like Anydesk or TeamViewer, or n number of apps are there. So with the help of those apps, the person actually was due with like probably like 6 lakh rupees, and it's a huge amount of money. But yes, Indian police system, Ministry of Home Affairs are quite, working really hard in that direction itself. Like if you are being duped with the particular financial fraud, you can right away call the number 155260, which is a helpline number where if you lodge your complaint right away, probably the money would be held in the criminal account itself, and it would be returned back to you probably because there is a time essence. If you have given your complaint in a stipulated amount of time, probably your money can be returned back also. But yes, you need to be aware. Like earlier, like I was on a All India radio also, and when we were discussing about these financial frauds, people were not aware that this kind of helpline exists. And this is there is a particular 5 or 6 different states where this particular program is ongoing right now, and eventually it has been working really good, I must say, and congratulate the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Police Department and the banking industry also, who are working like tirelessly in this particular field. And there are some UPI frauds also, in which actually like there is a new Aadhaar enabled payment system, AEPS, in which you actually have to give your thumb impression, which is your biometric verification itself. And eventually, this is quite popular in the village areas or the rural areas as well, because you know you cannot have the ATMs installed there, probably because of certain factors itself. So there are certain agencies which are having the AEPS system enabled, and with the help of your biometrics itself, probably you can take away the money from those particular agencies. And there are a lot of frauds ongoing. Eventually, your Aadhaar based, like every account has been connected with your Aadhaar, right? Okay. and Aadhaar is being connected with your mobile phone itself. So usually like Beam kind of apps are there. And very recently, we had a certain case in which actually the person tried to contact a certain customer care. Eventually, the number was fraud, and that person led to a particular hacker itself. And hacker actually convinced that person to send a message verifying the person's UPI identity to the bank server to be opened into the hacker's account itself, hacker's mobile itself. And eventually the Beam app was opened into the hacker's mobile itself and verified also because of this person. Because that was an encrypted information. Usually, like whenever we are registering for the Beam or some other payment apps, it actually verifies with your SIM itself by sending an encrypted message to the designated servers or the mobile numbers, we usually say in that manner only. And somehow the person was duped again, like 1,08,000 something amount of. So there is a huge loopholes. We are entering into that era when we are saying that digital currency and digital financial transactions are there. Now we are talking about the fintech universities and the fintech programs coming into the picture. But yes, we are very left behind with the training and awareness portion with the huge rural population itself. The census, the population census is yet to come, but you'll see in very soon time that yes, digital education is quite less, but yes, digital transactions have been spread so far in the country across the all far-flung areas itself. I'm really proud to say that yes, probably the Chole wala or the Kulche wala are also taking the transactions in the digital way itself, but they aren't aware that how to secure their account,
Yes.
that money itself, which is again in need of our. And it gives a really pain to tell them that yes, they probably need to be keeping yourself secure. The basic way what they understand that you need not to go into that era itself. But yes, that's not the solution. Probably we need to aware them. We need to teach them. So those are the things we have been indulgent in from the Center for Cybersecurity at Police University here. That's the thing.
Definitely, sir, and that what brings me to next question related to security itself. That how to enhance or improve cybersecurity posture with respect to organizations and also with respect to the people who are there in villages. Because organization at the end of the day they can have their auditing, then they can have the people who can get the system, get the things back. But the people in the village they are not well aware about the things. They can be fooled easily, and also they after once they are done, they are like they have this approach wherein they think that people will be judgmental about them, and they don't report about
Yes.
those frauds or anything, and they are very reluctant to go to anyone. So how do you educate people about that?
Yeah, very like rightful question you have asked here. See, in my perceivement, like my opinion would be like right now we are having some certain rules like IT Act. We were the first country to enact it, but probably like in the today's era we are left behind again. We need to have some stricter rules against the violators itself. And I'm really hopeful that in the personal data protection bill it would be coming down, and our expert committee members would be looking towards that thing. And eventually, like if the IT companies or the service providers are fully following those standards and the legislations, eventually, like we are not left behind with those things. Eventually, like in a country like India, where there is a huge scope of like money mules or the persons who are not aware about how their accounts, how their identities are being used by the hackers or the violators itself. Um, you know, People aren't aware right now. Like they usually gives away their identity so easily. Like just say like probably I'm in a particular exam, and if I have been asked about the identity, I'll give it right away. Yes, because that's the way they actually verify themselves. But probably do you know that those identities are being like bought by the violators, and eventually with the help of those identities they create some accounts in wallets, and eventually siphon out the money from those particular accounts itself, and making the audit trail in such a complex and elongated manner that probably the law enforcement agencies are left behind, like probably how to proceed with the same. Probably because if a transaction has originated from a bank, like which is a nationalized bank, now it has moved towards the wallet itself. Now it has moved towards the e-commerce website. Now it has moved towards, because e-commerce website has given some gift coupons in certain forms. Now it has gone to certain other websites. Then probably that website is sent towards some parcel agencies itself. It's a huge like nightmare itself. And in the cases of rural population, I must say that yes, the companies and the newspapers, the media, the educators should come all together. Eventually, they should be sensitized enough that yes, if you're using or not using somehow, but yes, you are coming into that particular aura or the ecosystem altogether. Because you cannot ask the bank to keep away with your money in a physical manner. Now we need to move towards the digital manner. Probably the money is simply a number right now, or it is located as a single card itself, which is a plastic one itself. So you cannot force them out that yes, you need to be putting your money in a physical manner itself. But yes, you need to tell them, you need to sensitize them, you need to educate them that yes, how to safely interact with those particular digital ecosystem itself. Basic awareness, like it is something like the health hygiene. So similarly, cyber hygiene is a must right now for the Indian population. And then after the demonetization and this corona time, we are looking towards certain new things which were forced to us eventually. Like even the organization or the population, vast population, was not ready for it. But probably now we need to learn it really fast manner, because eventually, like uh, the rural people are also having their accounts. They are also having their digital footprints, even though they don't want to or they want to in certain scenarios. We had a boom in the telecom sector where the data is like quite cheaper across the world. I had a particular professor who was discussing with me in the University of Lafayette, and he was just mentioning that probably the 1 GB data what I am paying is quite like 100 folds what you are paying at the Indian context itself. Earlier days when we were talking like a month, we had 1 GB data. Nowadays we are talking about 2 GB data in a day itself, or 3 GB data. And then eventually we are the country which is like coming in the top 10 tier itself, where we are actually spending that much amount of data itself. But yes, we need to be aware that how we are using the data, because there are sort of instances in the cyber crime, like cyber squatting is there, cyber stalking is there, cyber even like in the name of religions, in the name of organizations, the region or the languages. Probably some person have heard some other group feelings itself, which is again a new way of making the cyber terrorism or cyber warfare. And then the boundaries are not limited to the physical way nowadays. Probably like it's quite easier to discuss a person who probably is situated at Germany or some other countries itself without giving a call from your telephone network, probably, because we have VoIP applications enabled, we have chat box enabled, we have we can talk to right now, like we are talking with the help of WhatsApp Messenger now. Sorry, Facebook Messenger itself. Probably you are sitting somewhere in the another part of the country, and I'm sitting in the western part of the country itself. So we need to be aware ourselves, and the agencies should come all together, even the banking industry, education industry, law enforcement agency, and the criminal justice system itself. So that's my view and my opinion. I laid on my case.
Definitely, sir. So as you mentioned one term, digital footprints. I would like to inform us and educate us about what basically digital footprints mean.
Means like where your actually identity is lying in the digital environment itself. Like I just mentioned the case about a person who actually don't want to get involved into the digital way, but yes, somehow the
Mhm.
person's data is with some other friends or relatives, like his phone number is with them. Probably he is having a bank account, probably he is having an Aadhaar card or some government IDs itself, and these are always available in the digital environment itself. And eventually the companies, the organizations who are keeping away with that data are probably like are being hacked. I'm not claiming, but yes, it was claimed in the newspapers and the media that probably Aadhaar was hacked in 2018 itself. And Aadhaar being the one of the world's largest database related with your biometrics, your informations pertaining to your financial information, your daily information, everything is lying there. There was a certain very interesting scenario when the person of an organization claimed that you cannot do anything, you cannot get away with anything when I'll give you my Aadhaar card. I hope you remember the case when the person flashed and gave the Aadhaar card number, and the attack is known as doxing itself, DOXING, in which the every available footprint on the internet was actually thrown to that person, or shown to that person itself. And eventually the driving license, PAN card, Aadhaar, probably your bank
Mhm.
account details, your mobile number, your passwords even would be shown to you itself. That these are the things which are actually gives you a digital identity itself. Even your e-commerce website, when you are following them, they are actually keeping you track. If you buy a new phone from a physical shop itself, probably you are inserting your SIM and getting away with your user agent or your information to the telecom communication provider itself. And right away you'll receive a message that congratulations on buying this new company X phone version this. You never gave that information. That the shop owner never gave the information. Probably your device gave you away your information itself. So eventually once, or probably like one way or another way, you are going and giving away your digital footprint. And then it is so sophisticated with the help of machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques that yes, I can pinpoint that person, that out of these all devices. I'll give you an example, a very classic example. There was a particular departmental store chain in the US. They had an AI enabled system in the backside, that whenever there is a particular person buying certain sort of products, we can be rightfully saying that yes, probably the person is in that state itself. There was a girl, 16 years girl, bought a particular cream, which is used for some like skin allergy or so. So that particular department store had a particular algorithm saying that 99.9% of people who are buying this particular cream are pregnant. Getting my point? The pregnancy
Yeah,
is
yeah.
there. Probably there is a 99.9 probability percent is there. So eventually, an automated way, a mail, SMS, and information was sent to the relatives, the father, stating that congratulations for the new forthcoming member of your family, and we are really happy to offer you so much amount of discount. Because when we are talking about the pregnancy, probably a huge amount of money would be like spent on certain related groceries or accessories itself. That is coming around like at
Hmm,
an
hmm,
average
hmm.
around $15,000 in US itself. It's a huge amount. If we convert into the Indian currency, it is coming into the lakhs itself. So department stores never gives away that opportunity to another department stores. So they wanted to give that information right away and wanted to give them, attract them with the help of some discounts itself. That was all automated. And eventually the privacy was breached, and actually the girl was pregnant. That's the kind of privacy breach we are talking here. And there are a lot of things which we are left behind in the digital footprint. We aren't aware. Probably our email ID gives away our year of birth, probably our ex girlfriend and boyfriend name, or a lot of things, because we do it unknowingly eventually. So nowadays there
Hmm,
are
hmm,
companies
hmm.
which are indulged in removing the digital footprints also. So that's a new kind of business which are being followed right now. Yeah.
Definitely. So, sir, as previously, when I asked you about the cybersecurity posture, which might be helping organizations and the people in the villages, uh, there's then comes the question that does it secure the infrastructure of an organization, or it will just help in a way? Is it a foolproof plan of securing themselves from a cyber attack and cybersecurity, or they will just help them to avoid those and like minimize the damage?
You're talking about ISMS, ISO?
Yes, the cyber security organizations which you told that the security things which must be introduced, those things.
Yes, somehow like we can say that these organizations would be coming really handy to just take away the current load itself. And eventually, like in the coming days, you need to have some certain governmental organizations into the place, because eventually you cannot get away with the responsibility to the private organizations itself. Because eventually, like, we need to have a certain responsibilities towards the citizens also. And eventually, like we must say that certain and the new organizations like ncapc and the other organizations which are yet to come, ic4c are there. So these organizations are actually playing their part, but yes, somehow these are not being like centralized or coordinated in an organized manner itself. But yes, we'll have to have certain organizations in states also, because when we are talking about the concurrent list or state list or union list itself, we need to have certain organization into the state and concurrent list also. We are having the organization into the union list only as per the constitutional way, like the law enforcement being the state list manner itself. Somehow there needs to be a coordinated way where we can work on those things in a very organized way itself. Yes, we need to have it. Right now we don't.
Surely, sir. So moving towards my last question for today, that the like, what are the job perspectives on this in this field? What are different types of job perspective, and do we need to have a specialized degree in cyber security or information security to work in auditing field?
Yeah, yeah, that's the need of our. And yes, when we are talking about any field, we need to have the jobs perspective also. When we are talking about the personal data protection bill, it would be coming and enacted into an act itself. I'll think that probably there would be a compulsion, or probably that there is an enforcement coming to the picture while going and dealing with the information in an IT way itself. And eventually, there would be huge jobs coming into this sector itself, because there are very less firms who are actually dealing with the ISO auditing in the India compared to the industry itself. There is a huge load, there is a huge scope into that. Auditing is one aspect, but yes, implementing that is another aspect itself, and internal auditing is again another aspect. And yes, yes, you mentioned correctly that yes, we need not to have the degree related to the pertaining to those things, but yes, certification will give away the thing. Like if you are well versed with the information security management systems in a basic manner, also you can be the part of auditing. Even like when I was discussing the things, just hold on a second. Yes,
Yes.
just joining, buddy. हाँ हाँ आ रहा हूँ मैं ना. Uh, See, when we were discussing, I had a particular training regarding the theme, and during that time, one botanist was with me, one HR person was with me. So it's not necessarily that yes, you need to have a degree in the digital forensic or cyber security itself, but yes, any graduation or any other degree would be sufficing. But yes, you should have a basic understanding of those things itself, because you are going to audit those person. Okay, so that's the thing. Yes, your future is quite
Surely, sir.
bright.
Surely.
Yeah.
Surely, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge. And there are further more questions which I'll keep it to myself so that we can bring you on our platform once again, and we can have a further more discussion on this. So, moving
Looking
ahead,
forward.
I would like to proceed with my vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to thank you, our chief guest, Lieutenant Arjun Chaudhary, sir, for taking out time from his busy schedule and providing us with this amazing and very informative session. I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to Sri Sunil Rane, sir, Executive President, Atharva Group of Institute, for providing us various platforms like this one for interaction. Miss Varsha Rane, ma'am, Miss Pallavi Rane, ma'am, Trustee, Atharva Group of Institute, Dr. R.G. Ratnawat, sir, Director, AIMS, for giving us such a great platform to interact with the people and help enhance our knowledge, and also guiding us in all the events and giving his knowledge to bring the best from us. I would also like to thank Dr. Harshita Kumar, ma'am, Director, PGDM, AIMS. Dr. Shubhilal Agarwal, ma'am, Director, IQAC, AIMS, for connecting us to the intellectual capitals across the globe and helping us to gain so much of knowledge, and doing all over the coordination in absence of any other student coordinator. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our torch bearers, our student coordinators. Miss Neha Kamalpuria for report writing, and Mr. Piyush Chaudhary for designing flyers and helping in digital marketing. Without their help and support, this event wouldn't have been possible. Their hard work and willingness to give one and all pleasant experience has made this program a grand success. We wish to see you all in next episode of IT Talks with the same enthusiasm. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.